In a small, forgotten village, there stood an old cemetery. People called it the Silent Graveyard because even the wind rarely dared to pass through it. That night, Bayou, a new night guard, was assigned to watch the area. A simple job, they said, just make sure no wild animals or grave robbers showed up. But from the moment he stepped inside the cemetery, the air felt wrong. The ground was damp. The faint scent of jasmine lingered. And from somewhere deep among the graves came a whisper. "Oh, help me. Don't leave me here." Bayou froze. He looked around, but no one was there. Only old tombstones covered in moss, standing silently in the mist. He chuckled nervously. Just the wind, he told himself. He lit a cigarette and sat in the small guard post beside an ancient banyan tree. But then the whisper came again. This time, clearer. "Bayou, help me." His heart pounded. Someone had just called his name in the middle of the night. He stood up and pointed his flashlight toward the graves. And there, among the tombstones, one fresh grave looked different. The soil was still wet, as if it had just been dug. With trembling steps, Bayou approached. The beam of his flashlight shook in his hand. Then the ground moved. "I am not dead yet." The soil began to shift, as if something beneath was trying to crawl out. Bayou wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't move. From within the grave, a pale hand covered in dirt reached up, clawing at the air. He screamed and ran, but behind him came the sound of dragging footsteps. Slow, heavy, and in his ear the whisper followed. "If you leave me, I'll take your place down here." The next morning, villagers found the guard post empty. Only a still burning cigarette remained, and beside it, a new grave, one that hadn't been there before. The name carved on its stone read, Bayou Adi Presidio 1995225. He now rests in the silent graveyard, and on the nights that followed, the whispers returned. "Help me. I'm not dead yet." 2 nights after Bayou disappeared, the silent graveyard was quiet again. Too quiet. The villagers whispered among themselves, saying Bayou ran away, or worse, that something took him. But the cemetery couldn't be left unwatched. So they hired another night guard. His name was Rian, Bayou's best friend. When Rian heard about the disappearance, he didn't believe the stories. He laughed at them. "Ghosts? Come on!" Bayou probably just quit. That night, Rian walked into the graveyard carrying a flashlight and a thermos of coffee. The fog was thick. Crickets had stopped chirping. And from the moment he passed the gate, the air felt heavy. He found Bayou's old post. There was still a cigarette butt in the ashtray, half burned, untouched. And beside it, a small photo of Bayou and him taken last year. He frowned. Why would he leave this here? The clock struck midnight. Rian yawned, pouring himself a cup of coffee. But then he heard it. A faint whisper, soft like a sigh carried by the wind. "Rian." He froze. That voice, it was Bayou's. "Help me." He stood up, scanning the graves with his flashlight. "Bayou?" he shouted. "If this is your idea of a joke, it's not funny." But the whisper came again, closer now. "It's cold." Down here, Rian's flashlight flickered. For a split second, he saw something, a shape, half buried in the ground near the fresh grave. It looked like a face. Pale, dirt-covered, eyes open. He stumbled back in horror, tripping over a root. The whisper turned into a moan. "Don't leave me again, Rian." And then a hand burst out of the soil, clutching at his ankle. Cold, strong, Rian screamed, kicking free, running toward the gate. But when he looked back, he saw Bayou's half-buried body crawling from the grave, his mouth moving, whispering words that didn't sound human anymore. "You promised. You'd never leave me alone." The gate slammed shut on its own. The candle inside the guard post went out. And in the morning, the villagers found 2 graves side by side. One for Bayou, one for Rian. 3 nights after Rian vanished, fear swallowed the entire village. No one dared to walk near the cemetery anymore. Even in daylight, people said they could hear something, faint murmurs beneath the soil, like the dead were talking among themselves. One man, however, wasn't afraid. His name was Paxeno, the gravedigger. For 30 years, he had buried bodies in the silent graveyard. He'd seen things, heard stories, and learned one thing for sure. The dead never stay quiet if they die with anger in their hearts. That night, Paxeno took his lantern and shovel, heading toward the graves. He wanted to see it for himself, Bayou's and Rian's resting place. But as soon as he stepped past the iron gate, the air grew colder. The flame in his lantern trembled. He walked between the rows of tombstones, his boots sinking in the damp soil. When he reached Bayou's grave, he froze. The earth was moving. Slightly, slowly, as if something underneath was breathing. Rustle, rustle. Bayou? He whispered. Rian? And then a voice replied, soft, echoing from the ground. You shouldn't have come, Paxeno. He dropped his shovel, eyes wide. Who's there? You dug their graves. Now it's your turn to join them. The ground split open. From the crack, hands, pale, rotten, shot out, grabbing his legs. Paxeno screamed, kicking, but the soil dragged him down inch by inch. Lantern lights scattered, casting eerie shadows across the tombstones. The last thing he saw was Bayou's face, blank, emotionless, staring from inside the grave. We told you not to leave us alone. By morning, the villagers found Paxeno's lantern lying beside a third fresh grave. No one dared to touch it. No one dared to bury again. And that night, from the edge of the village, the whispers returned, louder this time, as if the whole cemetery was speaking. Join us. The soil is never full. The disappearances of Bayou, Rian, and Paxeno spread quickly beyond the village. No one dared to enter the silent graveyard anymore. Until one day, a stranger arrived, a journalist named Lina Wardana, known for covering unexplained events. She didn't believe in ghosts. She believed in answers. With her recorder, camera, and flashlight, Lina entered the cemetery just before midnight. The villagers begged her not to go. They said the ground was hungry, but she only smiled. Fear begins where logic ends, she said. The air inside the graveyard was cold, thick like smoke. Every step she took made the soil sink slightly, like it was breathing beneath her feet. She stopped in front of 3 graves, Bayou, Rian, and Paxeno. She turned on her recorder. Day 1. 3 missing persons, all connected to this graveyard. Locals claim they still hear whispers at night. As soon as she spoke, a faint sound played through her recorder, a whisper that wasn't hers. Leave now. Lina froze. She replayed the audio. The whisper was still there, and it said her name. Lina. Her flashlight flickered. In the darkness, she saw something, 3 silhouettes standing by the graves, half visible through the mist. Their faces were pale, empty. Their eyes glowed faintly white. She stumbled backward, whispering, "No, this can't be real." The ground beneath her cracked open, and a cold hand brushed her ankle. Then a voice, deep, layered, like dozens speaking at once, rose from the earth. "You came looking for the truth. Now you'll join it." She screamed, dropping her recorder into the dirt. The lantern light spun wildly, and then darkness. When the villagers came the next morning, they found Lina's camera. The footage showed her walking toward the 3 graves, but then halfway through, the video cut to static. And underneath the static was a whisper. Lina Wardana 19892-025. That night, a 4th grave appeared beside the others, and the whispers grew louder than ever. The soil remembers, and it's still hungry. A week after Lina's disappearance, the village fell completely silent. No laughter, no prayers, only whispers at night, crawling through windows, echoing in dreams. But one man refused to stay quiet. Father Samuel, an old priest who once blessed the cemetery years ago, returned after hearing what had happened. He knew why the ground wouldn't rest. Because the silent graveyard was never meant to exist. Decades ago, before it was a cemetery, the land was a mass grave, a place where villagers buried victims of a terrible ritual during a long-forgotten famine. They said the hungry souls were promised food, but instead they were buried alive. The soil had tasted life, and since then, It never forgot the flavor. Father Samuel walked through the cemetery under a blood-red moon, holding a silver cross and a small bottle of holy water. Every step he took, the earth moved like it was breathing beneath him. The air reeked of death and something ancient. He stopped in front of the 4 graves, Bayou, Rian, Paxeno, and Lena. He began to pray, but the ground answered him. "We are not dead. We are waiting." The graves opened. 4 figures rose, faces torn, eyes glowing. They moved like shadows, whispering the same words over and over. "Feed the soil. Feed the soil." Father Samuel threw the holy water, but instead of burning them, the water turned black. The cross in his hand began to melt. The whispers became screams. The entire graveyard trembled as if the earth itself was alive. A deep voice, not human, not of this world, echoed from beneath the ground. "This land is cursed with hunger, and every soul that enters shall become part of it." The soil split open beneath him, glowing red like fire from below. Father Samuel tried to run, but dozens of hands reached out, pulling him down into the darkness. The last thing he saw was the names on the tombstones, changing. Ryu, Rian, Paxeno, Lena, and now Father Samuel. When morning came, the cemetery was gone. Only a field of dark soil remained, soft and warm, as if something beneath had just eaten. The villagers built a fence and sealed it forever, but on nights when the moon turns red, they say you can still hear them whispering from beneath the earth. "We're still here, and the soil is still hungry." Months passed after Father Samuel's disappearance. The villagers thought the horror had finally ended. The cemetery was sealed, the ground fenced off with iron and concrete. No one went near it again, but horror never truly dies. One night, a violent storm struck the village. Lightning cracked the sky and rain poured like falling nails. The earth trembled, and from beneath the sealed graveyard came a sound no one wanted to hear again. A whisper, soft at first, but growing louder. "We're still here." By dawn, the storm stopped. When the villagers came out, they saw something impossible. The graves had returned, 6 of them standing in perfect rows, each stone freshly carved. And the 6th one read, Father Samuel 19622025. No one could explain how it appeared overnight. No footprints, no tools, only a strange mark on the ground, a spiral symbol burned into the soil, still warm. That night, the whispers came back. But this time, they weren't just from the cemetery. They came from inside the villagers' homes, from beneath their floors, from their walls, from their dreams. One by one, people started hearing their own names being called. "Ari, open the door. Come outside. We need you." The whispers sounded like loved ones, dead ones, and those who followed them never came back. Weeks later, the entire village was empty. Houses abandoned, food left on tables, doors left open, swinging in the wind. And where the village once stood, only soil remained, dark, wet, breathing. On the horizon, a lone traveler passed by, unaware of the curse. He heard something faint behind him. "Help me. I'm not dead yet." He turned, but there was no one there, only the whispering ground, and 6 graves waiting for a 7th.